We've already started a series of GTC traders on brief thoughts on markets. Quick, 5 minutes, here's some markets, here's what I'm thinking about them, what do you all think? I thought we could start something on charts. Now, when it comes to charts, here is my dilemma. I understand everybody loves charts. I understand as soon as they see a chart, they're all pulled into it. I've done actual sort of informal studies how fast when you post something with a chart, it'll get impressions, it'll get views, the audience the algorithm picks up on that and starts using it, as opposed to other content. It's unbelievable, and it's because humans are visual creatures. Now, I was saying that's my dilemma, right? I understand that everybody loves charts. My dilemma being, I don't. You know, I'm going to be honest, my closed proprietary firm, right, that's apart from GTC traders, I have if you've just run across us, I'm the senior partner in a closed proprietary private firm. I don't like charts. That firm does not use charts. It does not trade with charts. It really doesn't. At the beginning of each month, we have something that basically tells us how to set our anchor. And then as far as the predominant trade, it looks something more akin to this. Now, that's not it exactly. I had to strip it out somewhat of all the nice little details, because then I'd have to worry about partners suing me for violating NDA and non-competes and all of that. But it's similar. And as far as execution, that's what gets input. So honestly and truthfully, although I use them in the past, though I may put them up in a social media stream, I've honestly gotten to the point that I'm like, I just don't like them. And what's funny about that is people will see this and go, ooh, math, ooh, quantitative, ooh, yuck, I'm not sure I want to go that route. What's funny about that is millions and millions of people use this. And I mean millions of them. This isn't the graphical representation, but this is the formula that they are inputting every time they bring up that quote-unquote technical tool. And my question is always, the problem you have in markets, or what is your objective and what are you trying to do? If you're going to use some sort of I call them technical overlays because I don't like technical analysis because I think that's a misnomer. But if you're going to use some sort of technical overlay, you do realize that this is what you're using, right? And millions of people use this one. So people will come at me and say, oh yeah, I don't like the math, I don't want to get quantitative. And at the same people will use a graphical representation of the math in some sort of technical overlay. So what's the difference really? See, I think when you look at the math and you understand the math, this goes back to something I've always said. What are you trying to do? If you insist on using a technical overlay for your trading, first of all, don't hyper-focus on entrances because that's like 5% of trading. But regardless, if you're going to use one, are you using the technical overlay properly to the theory of what it was designed to do? Because the millions of people who use this particular technical overlay or technical tool for their technical analysis, they're like, anytime you encounter a problem in life or a problem in science, and we're going to try to describe this problem in some sort of mathematical way so that we can come up with some sort of solution. Well, is your math fitting the problem? So they will apply something that they will apply this one in a wildly trending market and then wonder why they're getting run over. Regardless, backing up just a little bit, my dilemma, I've noticed, even anecdotally sort of running my own little surveys, I guess you would call them, is that people love charts. I mean, they really like them. So I guess we can do them. So that's all been an introduction and my disclaimer as far as my thoughts on charts. But you can do it. You can trade that way. I'm not bagging on charts and I'm not bagging on technical overlays. As a matter of fact, I know folks that have a larger bias against technical overlays than I do. I don't really have a bias against them. I just think it's all used incorrectly. Because you're not thinking about the base underlying math, you're not thinking about the base underlying problem, and they're not thinking about, okay, how does this overlay address that problem? And worse yet, they're trying to use it predictively, which is impossible. So, regardless, I can do charts. I don't have as much of a problem with them. I have some, I guess we'll call them hang-ups. I guess we'll say I've got hang-ups about charts. That being said, that has been the big long introduction to something I wanted as a 5-minute video on charts. So I thought, okay, let's do a little series here on quick looks at charts, and we can start off by looking at TLT. So everyone is interested in TLT. Where's the yield at right now? I think 4% or something like that. You know, when do you buy TLT? When's a good time to buy TLT? Remember that TLT is not bonds. This is another little personal hang-up of mine. Bonds are bonds you get from the U.S. government. This is a derivative of 20-year plus on the bond. So you're trading sort of a derivative, quite honestly, whenever you trade TLT. But fine, let's just call it, for the sake of ease of this video and me not being too pedantic, let's call it the long end of the curve. When's going to be the time to buy? I think there's questions you have to ask yourself, because I've seen this in social media streams a lot lately. When's the time to buy TLT? I've seen ones ask the question, well, when are they going to get back to cutting rates? I think that time's over. I think we've entered a whole new paradigm, like a 1941 to or actually maybe even 1935 to 1980 paradigm. And I've also been saying this for a while. Do we have a repeat of 1977 to 1980? I've been saying this for a while. So for those among us that are more visually based, what do I mean by a 1977 to 1980? This is the Fed funds effective rate from, let me think, 1972 to 1980. It battled inflation. And basically this mimicked inflation, or it was trying to get above it the entire time. My question is, are we here? Right? When it comes to, and not necessarily the effective Fed funds rate, which is what you see here, but in terms of inflation. And they're going to have to keep raising the rate again, because if you know your history in the 1970s, it's not just, oh, we had high inflation. From 1972 to like 1974, 1975, it got out of hand. And as you see here, on the chart that I think has import, the Fed raised the rate. And then they cut the rate, and then we had a repeat. In 1977 to 1980, it got really out of hand. And so when it comes to the effective funds rate, are we here? Are we going to experience another 1977 to 1980? How long? My question here, and why I use the effective funds rate, is how long does the Fed have to stay higher for longer to achieve that Volcker effect? If, and notice I'm saying if we do experience a repeat in inflation from 1977, does the long end yield go to 8%, 9%, 10%? We don't have the answer yet, because we're still asking ourselves that question. Oil terms were looking pretty bad. Here's an image of the one of the front oil terms. It was looking pretty bad there for a while, up until a few days ago, which is, as you can see, it sort of broke. How much of that has to do with seasonality? And I don't think it has only to do with oil. There's a lot of other, aspects going on. So when it comes to TLT, I think the only question that really matters, if you want to consider that chart, or when is it time to buy, is the question you have to ask yourself is, has the Fed done it? Are you willing to make a bet that the Fed has squashed it? And one more rate is really going to achieve that Volcker effect? I don't have the answer. Personally, myself, I need more data before I can come to any conclusions. Some people may want to go ahead and make a bet now. But I think if you're examining TLT and looking at just the chart, that's the question you have to ask yourself. But that has been what it's always been. That's simply been, right? Our thoughts are just good until they're canceled, and have been just our thoughts for whatever the heck day it is. As always, stay safe, trade well, and remember that love doesn't cost a dime.